You know, I was reading your notes earlier and you were saying Catalonia is a non-event, right? This is, you know, a local issue rather than a regional issue. Does this result change that outlook?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a total non-event, but the thing to remember about Catalonia is that it doesn't necessarily threaten the integrity of the Eurozone. It is probably not a systemic threat to the Eurozone, you know, and that is very much unlike the Greek crisis, the peripheral crisis, and these type of earlier tensions you had in the Eurozone. You know, if you look at the euro and how that traded around the earlier Catalan situation, it was very much a temporary sort of blip of weakness. And that is essentially a situation we expect to persist.
So this wouldn't change your outlook when it comes to the currency?
Not the euro, no. We think that essentially two forces will outweigh political risks in the year ahead. The first one is a cyclical convergence to the US. You see a very strong Eurozone economy right now. For example, the unemployment gap is catching up to the US, the output gap is catching up to the US. The ECB later in the year is probably going to step back from its QE program as well. And finally, political risk in Eurozone. It's not really anything new. I can't really recall 1 year since 2010 when there hasn't been some sort of political story. The Catalan story, again, we think it's quite local and not systemic.
Are we perhaps minimizing the impact of this? Joakim, I mean, I understand that, but there seems to be a lot of risk already priced into the markets. But might we be underpricing these types of sort of what seem like tertiary issues? Might we be underpricing them?
We would probably not think so. I mean, if you look at polls going into this election, they were roughly, split 50-50. You got an outcome slightly in favor of the separatists, but this doesn't necessarily mean that you will see an immediate escalation in that type of rhetoric. We will see how it plays out. There is clearly a dialogue going on between the government and Catalonia, and
right.
It doesn't. Yeah.